My name is Jason Bradford, and I got this project started here. It's called Brookside Farm because my kids were going to school at Brookside Elementary School, which is right behind us. And I walked out one day and looked at this field here and realized, because it was behind some buildings, that the kids were not even allowed to go out here. The yard duties wouldn't let them play. So this is essentially an acre of prime agricultural land that was owned by the school district that was considered somewhat of a hazard by the district. So I asked the school district permission to develop we call it a mini farm on the site, and they said go ahead. The students of Brookside Elementary School come out to this farm in different contexts. They come out usually in groups with their classes. Sometimes a whole class will come out for a tour. Sometimes the class will be broken up in more small groups. And for the first couple years, it was more, here's what we're doing and here's why, and sample some produce, and we'll take some produce to your classroom, and some will go to the cafeteria. And then there was also an after-school program through the kids club, and they would come out and similarly they would take some tours. Now what we're doing currently is developing what's called a kids garden on the site, in which the kids will be getting hands-on experience, actually, starting from seed to to fork in their mouth. And that's going to be really exciting because they will see sort of a professional market garden scale farm operation, and they will see how they can have the power at, with little garden their size and with interesting things to draw them in. So it'll be tailored for kindergarten to second grade. Farming is a year-round thing. This is not a farm that just has a harvest period and goes dormant, because a farm has to think about its fertility over the winter. So what we do is a lot of cover crops, and this protects the soil. It adds nitrogen and organic matter to the soil. And also during the winter, there are some things that we can still harvest. There are perennial crops. We have perennial greens like the kales and chard and tree collards that we can harvest. And what I also do here is we grow some crops that go into storage and can be distributed over winter. So for example, at the end of the year, we may have a lot of winter squash. We may have a lot of cured onions and garlic, and we may do dried tomatoes, for example. And so these things then can be distributed throughout the winter. We can also pull things out of the ground like parsnips or Jerusalem artichokes, tubers, or carrots that will be in the ground and be fresh when you pull them out, even in, say, March. The food that we grow here goes primarily to what are called CSA subscribers. It's called Community Supported Agriculture. And basically, when the school district said, go ahead and do this farm, they didn't say, hey, we're going to commit a whole bunch of money for it. It was basically up to me to figure out a revenue model that allowed for the farm to develop. There's a lot of infrastructure and equipment that goes into this. And to raise the funds, I essentially sold shares in the farm. And the shareholders, therefore, get a portion of the harvest. So if I sell 10 shares, then every Tuesday what we harvest, everything we harvest divided into tenths and divvied out in baskets that the shareholders take. We've also been selling shares to the preschool that's on the site and delivering shares to the cafeteria. And over time, what I'd like to do is have more and more of the food going towards the students here and less to families and households in the general community. Currently, the kitchens are using some of the produce, and the preschool kitchens have an easier time because there's a few number of kids and a lot relative to the kitchen staff. And so the kitchen staff in the preschools have a lot more ability to hand prepare and be more creative in their meal planning. Whereas with the district, you have 2 people in the kitchen that serve 900 meals a day, and they are much more concerned about the time it takes to actually think about preparing fresh foods. So what needs to happen there is a more institutional shift in actually the structure of how the kitchen operates, meaning more staff time and maybe some training and more planning ahead of how to incorporate fresh produce. I came to Willits 4 years ago because I was interested in living in a small town. I feel that small towns have more ability to connect socially with each other because they interact more frequently and they see each other in different roles in life. So I was looking for a place that I could develop some social cohesion and networking to accomplish some projects I was interested in. And I wanted to be in a rural setting so I could get involved in agriculture. Well, there are so many things that people can do to get involved in getting a handle on their own food supply. One of the first things that can be done is to actually, find whatever space you have in your own yard and convert it. We spend a lot of time and energy manicuring lawns and things like that. Well, turn those into garden spaces, and that's one thing. But the reality is that very little of anyone's personal nutrition is going to come from their backyard. You may get good vitamins and minerals from the produce, but almost all your calories is going to have to come from further afield, literally, because it's just simply the physics of the intensity of sunlight striking the earth and the ability of it to be incorporated in plant matter and then placed into edible forms. A human being is a very large animal. I mean, we wouldn't expect deer to live at the same density we do in a city. They're spread out over the landscape. So we should think about the carrying capacity of our environment, and literally every single person actually requires a landscape of sunlight and minerals to be harnessed to flow into your body. And so the really important thing is actually to start supporting new initiatives in local agriculture that don't rely on importation of fertilizer and grain and water to provide for us. If somebody would like to join Brookside Farm's CSA program, they should call my home number, which is 456-0760. And we have a big waiting list, actually.